Holy pain train! Welcome back to Flight Check, Season 3, Episode 18. We're back again, talking all aspects of FlyQuest, and welcome to the therapist office, because we are on the depression angle right now. Lots of struggles.
We're back in 2021 again.
It's we're back to the old losing ways. My name, as always, is Depression Sandy Toes, and to my left and my extra left are my fellow hosts Sad War and Curly Double L. Gentlemen.
It's funny because the Q's are already crying faces.
Yeah. So
even
you've already got the crying down.
Depression
You're on top of
Toes,
it.
Sad War, and Curly Double L. That's who we are tonight.
man.
Fellas, I gotta say, before we get kicking with the show here tonight, I don't know if you've ever done this before. I started a book today, and I got like 10... Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I've never said it. League players don't read. It's all known. They don't read the tooltips. They don't read books. I got like 10 pages into this book, and I was like, this is garbage. I have like, this book is like, I don't like this book at all. I have no interest in continuing to read this book. I'm just gonna I'm gonna move on to a different book. That's the first time in my life I have ever done that with a book. I have never, ever said, no, I'm done. I'm not gonna read this anymore. So
that's actually crazy.
Isn't that nuts? I don't know. Have you guys ever had an experience like that before?
Absolutely. Like, unironically, I just don't read a lot. I do not have the attention span for it. You know?
Yeah.
Book format just bland to my eyes.
I think a good one for me is you will have that one friend who you like hanging out with, and then it's like, hey, you want to hang out with one-on-one, and so you hang out for the first 10 minutes, and you're just like, oh, this ain't it, bro.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. No, that's yeah, definitely. I hear that for sure. Well, much like a book that you don't like 10 pages in, we've got a team that we don't like 6 matches into the LCS season.
I saw that setup.
How do you like that transition?
Yeah. No, I predicted that right away.
A team that you just kind of want to throw away and not have to pay attention to anymore, because it's just too painful, too frustrating to have to deal with. We're gonna do a little game real quick. We're gonna step into the therapist office. Welcome to Dr. Sandy's therapy for LCS fans. Today we've got 2 fans of FlyQuest, Noxwar and Curly Double Q. Could one of you start to describe some of the symptoms that you're experiencing from the team perspective?
I would say general confusion. Confusion is a very notable symptom I'm noticing.
That's fair. Mr. Curly Double Q, do you have anything symptoms that you've been noticing?
It feels like the team is suffering from lack of motivation, and it's just struggling to get up and going when it really needs to. So that's
very lethargic.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, luckily, Dr. Sandy here, I do have the prescription, I do have the cure. And you're in luck because you're already one step closer to the cure, and that is continuing to listen to Flight Check. We will diagnose and understand all of the issues tonight on this episode. Lots to discuss. 0-6 for FlyQuest now. Really frustrating way to start the season. And Nox, I want to, you kind of joked about with your symptom, general confusion, but I think that's actually something to kind of dig into first off. Is what I've been seeing in these matches is a general lack of coordination amongst the team. I don't think I have seen the level of LCS coordination that we would expect from an LCS team / these 5 players in particular. They have not been playing together on a level that I would expect them to be. How do you feel about coordination right now, 6 games into this season?
Well, first things first, I would like to address that FlyCheck is not responsible for any and all advice that's given on this show. Please take care of yourself responsibly. Thank you. Second of all, no, I completely agree. It seems, and this is not something new to this split, right? This is like we were noticing this towards the back end of last split, even like pretty much this whole year has been a constant of like on the surface level on the stage, like we looked fine, everything was all good and dandy, and all three of us were having our cake and eating it too. It was a great old time.
Yep.
And then halfway through the first round robin, Ayla comes in and things start falling, and we want to like point fingers at Ayla. And in reality, what like a lot of us can't tell behind because we're not behind the scenes is like, no, this is a deeper symptom. This is something else that's kind of happening right now. And Ayla just happened to be taking the brunt of it, right?
Right.
And so playoffs comes around, and then we drop out, losing to Golden Guardians. Game 5, and it just like, oh man, that sucks. And so, of course, because like all this is happening behind the scenes, it's very hard for fans to diagnose like, here's what's actually happening, right? And so everyone's just like, oh yeah, Ayla sucked, get him out of here, blah blah blah. Winston was better.
Right.
And I mean, who's to say how much Ayla had an influence on that particular issue? But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not what was causing the actual issue, right? It was. Right. Like, this whole Vulcan coming in was clearly a Band-Aid fix. And It was a crappy-ass Band-Aid. Like, just being straight up.
Yeah.
And so, what I've come to the conclusion of is the coaches have got to figure out what's going on here. Like, I play, like, these players are too good to be 0-6.
Right.
I need the coaches to be the doctors here. I need them to be the therapists in the room. I need them to lay down a diagnosis, and I need them to lay out a prescription plan, because this cannot continue on much longer.
No, absolutely not. Curly Knox brings up an interesting point that I wanted to swing over to you, which, how much of this do you feel is a coaching issue right now? Is it are a lot of these problems stemming from draft, or are there other issues that would be more fixable by the players?
I do think the drafts have not been my favorite. I felt like we're not really creative with our approach to the drafts, or even if we're not creative, it's like somehow we're still missing the meta. It's like we're bland, but not in the right way. And it feels like we're just kind of like enabling our opponents to get a better team comp than us. But I don't think it's just that. I really do think that it's just an unfortunate case of I expected us to have a slower start. And if the season was a regular format and we lost the first 2 weeks, it'd still be panicking.
Right.
But we'd feel a bit better because like we got 6 weeks to fix this. But no, we don't. We've got 4 weeks to fix this.
Right.
And if we flop another week, that dramatically decreases our chances of getting into playoffs. And even if we do make it into playoffs, like, yes, it's 8 teams, but you know, that's still 2 teams that can go out. And right now we're sole possession of 10th place, right?
Yeah.
So I think it might just be that the compressed format is making this seem so much worse than it is, because I don't think Vulcan was ever meant to be a Band-Aid fix. I think Vulcan is meant to be the long-term fix, switch it out, grow together. And like when it was MSI, Knox and I were on the same page. We're like, yeah, it's, you know, going to take a minute for him and Prince to figure things out.
Yeah.
And so is it a coaching thing? Hard to say. I'm not in the room. And especially something else you have to consider is a lot of other players are saying, I don't know what's up with FlyQuest, because in scrims, they're dogging on us, but on stage, they're flopping. We are literally reversing the narrative from spring.
Yeah.
And so it's just, maybe it's just we're cursed where if we're doing well in one, we can't do well in the other. So we need to start losing our scrims so we can start on stage, you know?
Right.
But I will be honest, the games so far have been lackluster. And I think it's just, I don't think it's one thing. I think it's an amalgamation of little things going wrong everywhere, and it all adds up. And I'm it's they just need to figure out what to tackle first.
Right. Well,
So-
I'll note that scrims are not going to get worse anytime soon, especially when Vulcan, he just tweeted 20 minutes ago. Don't want to say that FlyQuest is back, but I just got a Recon Penta in scrims.
Oh my!
And he did tweet a screenshot, so it's real. He did get a Penta on Recon in scrims, apparently. So there you go. Maybe we are back. So I think the Super Week question is a really interesting one to me, where you have 3 quick games in rapid succession, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? That's not a lot of time to turn around, and you have one less day of scrims, right? Way less time to turn around and say, hey, this is what's going wrong, here's how we can fix it, here's how we can practice fixing it, and now let's execute and make it better on the day. Think about how last season we would have had, would it have been 4 games or 5 games at this point? But either way, I forget if the first week was a super week or not.
It's 4th and 8th weeks that were
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we would have only had 4 games or 5 games. Someone do the math.
Yeah,
We
we
would've
were
been four games in.
4.
Yeah, we would have been 4 games in. So theoretically, like 0-4, and you're not so far down that you're kind of going to be struggling to claw your way back into the playoff conversation. I mean, let's be very honest. We're 0-6, 9th, 8th place. They are at 2-4 right now. We're already 2 games away just from getting into the lower bracket of playoffs. I was thinking about it today, and you're basically going to have to go 8-4 at minimum over the next 4 weeks. You have to win, 2/3 of your games, which you have not been doing whatsoever. You got to basically go 2-1 minimum for the next 4 weeks, and then you're only 8-10, and you probably have a good shot at making it into top 8 at that point. Hopefully other teams also fail, but we have put ourselves in a really difficult position now.
So just for clarification, I did a flashback in history for this.
Yeah.
And so on average, to make summer playoffs, you need to have 6 wins. Because in 2022, I want to say it was Golden Guardians had 5 wins and they made it. And then in 2020, it was Immortals and they had 5 wins and they also made it in. So
Right.
as long as you have 6 wins, you should be safe to make it in. At least to the lower bracket.
Well, 6 wins. I mean, we don't want it to be close. We don't want to
No. We want as many as possible. Don't get me wrong.
At the bare minimum.
I mean, realistically, we want the 12-0 turnaround on these final 4 weeks.
Oh yeah.
But you cannot deny that we have put ourselves in a really difficult position now, and it's going to be tough to climb out of that hole. Now, we've got upcoming this week on Thursday and Friday 2 games against some of the more lower-ranked teams in the LCS right now. You've got NRG, I believe, on Thursday, and then on Friday we're also going to have Immortals. So you have 2 teams that are tied for 7th at 2-4. Immortals on a 4-game loss streak. NRG's been kind of sputtering to get things started. But then you've also got Team Liquid on Wednesday, who are 4-2. Now, they started 4-0 and then dropped 2 games in a row, so they're on a 2-game loss streak right now, kind of a fall from grace. And you're kind of seeing things balance out a little bit more to where you might expect. Golden Guardians rebounded, TSM fell a little bit more, Immortals has fallen off from their 2-1 start. Cloud9 is clearly up at the top along with Evil Geniuses, which is actually a surprise. But I just can't get past the mountain that is now going to be, just an obstacle for us to get past. And I'm curious from you guys what you see as the way forward for us to succeed and, not only make top 8, but at this point we have to say, okay, well, we got to try to at least make top 6. Because top 2 is out of the question, obviously. But top 6, it's achievable. But how do we even get there is my question.
So, real quick, can I answer your question with a question, and then we can actually answer your question?
Bring it on. More questions.
So, and this is going to be kind of blunt, but I'm just curious on your guys' thoughts for it. But David Jmook had a video that was released earlier this morning, basically highlighting his thoughts on all the 10 LCS teams, right? And his FlyQuest portion is very much kind of in line with traditional sports, and where a team is forming, typically someone gets fired.
Yeah.
I guess, bluntly, do you guys believe that we are at a point of the season where do you agree with David? Do you think someone on FlyQuest should be fired for this performance? Or is it we need another week, or should just no one be fired, period? Like, what? I guess, where are you guys on that scale?
Man. That's difficult.
Here's the thing. As someone who grew up in Western New York and has the Buffalo Bills, who would change coaches every year when things go wrong, and then came out here to Ohio. My local team is the Browns. Where like they changed it up every year when things go wrong. I don't think it's a solution. Now, granted, we have had Sharks for a while, but shaking things up at this point would just, unless it's a high risk, high reward. Maybe you magically bring in someone, like maybe it's a player, maybe it's a coach, who knows, and maybe you're right. You bring him in and we have a whole turnaround week. Can you attribute it to that, or did the team just do well on their own? Who knows? But I don't think, unless we are very, very, very extremely confident it will create a necessary change, that it is worth switching things up now. Because if we fail next week, we just kind of have to, go through the rest of the season and approach the off season way differently. That's when we start looking at different people and different players or different coaches, whatever. But right now, I think it would be such a risky move. I don't actually think it would be worth it.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I don't think you make a change right now, but I do think you have to start asking some questions. If we have another week like this this week, if there's no drastic change, 2-1, a 3-0 week, something like that, then you have to start, asking, okay, where is the fault lying? And sometimes you just do need to make a drastic shakeup. Here's an example that I think is interesting. Fnatic over in the LEC, they have changed their roster a few times now, between this winter, spring, and summer split. Like, actually, if you pull up, hang on, I'm gonna pull up, because I've actually been.
Dude. Fnatic 23 is crazy.
I have been trying to catch up, actually, I've barely watched any LEC all season, and I'm, like, finally starting to catch up, so, like, I'm in the middle of watching their spring season right now. So, like, first off, Fnatic in winter was Wonder, Razork, Humanoid, Reckless, and Rux. Spring, it's Oscarinin, Razork, Humanoid, Reckless, and Advienne. So they already swap out their top in support. Now let's get to the summer. Oscarinin, Razork, Humanoid, Noah, and Trimby. This team is, like, so desperate to actually do something that they have completely revamped their roster, not once, but twice. To the point where now, like, between the start of the year and the end of the year, only 2 players remain from where it began, and one of their coaches is different. They dropped Crusher and brought in Nightshare, who is Freeze's brother, twin brother, incidentally. That's a little bit of LOL Esports.
LCS fun fact.
LOL Esports trivia for you. So there is precedent for making, like, a drastic change in the middle of the season. Whether that is a coach, whether that is a player, there is precedent for it. And I would argue that if we do not see absolute improvement this upcoming week versus two of the other bottom teams in the LCS right now, something needs to change. Whether it's from a leadership perspective in the coaching realm, you bring up one of the, like, if you're 0-9 at the end of this week, it's like I'm gonna be the first one to lead the charge for the challengers guys to start getting some stage time, because like 0-9, there's like no way. It's just not happening at that point. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Nox, I know you asked this question initially of, do we make a change? So I'm curious to see what your perspective is on it.
Yeah, so I'm going to be a little more aggressive than you guys, because my thought process is, if, like you said, Sandy, we go 0-3 this week, you are now, by the standards that I laid down earlier and like historical past precedents of teams making it in this 8-team playoff, you have to win 2/3 of the back half. You have to win 2/3, otherwise you are not making playoffs. So I am going to propose, and there's reasoning for this, I'll get into it, that VicLa takes a step back for this week, and you bring up Spirax. And now a lot of people are going to sit here and be like, oh, but Spirax is like, just, like, he's been okay in challengers, but he hasn't really been good. Why would you want to bring him up? He's surely not better than VicLa. And I would, you know what? I would agree with you.
Right.
However, VicLa has not been performing on stage. He just hasn't.
Absolutely.
So just, I mean, and I know KDA is a terrible stat, but let me read you off his KDAs for the past week. Versus Cloud9, 0-4-2. Versus Evil Geniuses, 2-6-7. Versus Dignitas, 4-3-3. That one wasn't terrible, but ended up being a throw anyway, right? So, and then you can go back in the previous weeks as well. In the first week, he didn't have good KDAs there either. He has not been performing well. No. And so what I would like to see happen is Spirax comes up, and my thought process is that Spirax is pretty good mid laner in terms of working with his jungler. He has a very strong mid-jungle synergy with Yuji. I have to imagine that he should be able to pair up pretty well with Spica, and because he's no longer going to be one of those mid laners that's going to absorb a lot of attention, he should allow Spica to maybe to focus more on other side lanes, either whether it be top or more on bottom, whatever it may be. Because frankly, like, VicLa's kind of been losing mid lane, like actual laning. While his skill ceiling is not as high as VicLa, I think right now his floor is higher than what VicLa's performing at. And that's going to help stabilize the team and allow the rest of the team to start performing better, is my hope. And then after this week, hopefully VicLa steps back, he looks at the gameplay, he talks to coaches, whatever it may be. He can step back in, and hopefully the team gets some wins off of this week, and then he can step back into week 4, and they can go from there. But I think, at least for this week, VicLa needs to just take, not a permanent benching. Like, I want it to be like, I want FlyQuest to publicly announce on social medias, it is for this week only. Yeah. We're giving VicLa a break. We're bringing Spirax up. That's what I would like to see, because I think Spirax will bring a level of stability to the team that the team needs currently, even if he's not going to be the better mid laner than VicLa when VicLa is actually performing.
Right. Yeah.
Now hear me out, right?
Oh, go ahead.
Because I do agree with you. VicLa has not. He's been, I think, the biggest, like, most visible problem in terms of FlyQuest failures in these first couple of weeks. And, you know, I'm not just saying that because he's losing me my fantasy LCS.
But it's kind of like,
so I promise.
That's kind of the problem, you know.
But like, in all honesty, when I have been watching these games, like, anytime it's always VicLa tries to make the first big move in lane. And if it pays off, it's a great move. But I have never seen it pay off at all. Like, I saw the 2 scoops on Azir. Like, he goes in, tries to get it, doesn't get the scoop. Granted, the one was, you're not meant to get it. You're meant to burn the flash, and he did it against Jensen, but that didn't really matter because up top, Quinn was being Quinn. So it's like these small moments in his early game are making him kind of, like, irrelevant for a lot of the rest of the game. But what I want to say is, I don't expect that they're going to switch him out this week. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's a good idea, Nox, but I don't expect they're going to do it. I think they're going to give it one more college try. But if he shows a low level of performance again, and if TSM truly brings Insanity back down to the NACL, what are the odds we poach Insanity from TSM?
Jeez Louise.
Because
I was not expecting this angle at all.
He dramatically overperformed for people's expectations in the first couple weeks and has carried TSM to a lot of their victories. He is that guy for his team. Now, granted, TSM is 3-3, so it's not always paid off. But if you have someone who can consistently execute and be that game changer for his team, maybe that's what we need right now if VicLa isn't being it. What do you guys think?
Nox, you start here on this one.
Okay, look, I am an actual fan of Insanity. I really like him a lot. This man should have been given an opportunity in LCS way sooner than what he had, and I mean outside of Immortals, okay? Let's be honest, that Immortals roster was not doing him any favors. But I do not, I'm sorry, Curly, I do not think acquiring Insanity in the middle of the split to have 3 mid laners on our rosters to play. Like, I love the dude.
I'm not saying having 3 mid laners on our roster. I'm saying straight up.
Oh, you want to boot VicLa?
I'm not saying boot VicLa, but like, I don't want to give him the tenacity treatment,
dude.
Like, if he's not going to play, he's not going to play.
I am already, not to jump in here, but to jump in here. I'm already like, we're on to 2024. I'm already there. Like, mentally, I'm already like, all right, so
the season, all right.
I'm like, mentally, I am already like, all right, so next season's roster is going to be Impact, Spica, someone in mid lane, Masu, and Vulcan, right? Okay, so who do we get in mid lane? Like, that's where I am already there.
I think
save that for November. All right. We do still have to get to the season, and like I said, This is only in the case of an underperformance this week and Insanity not playing for TSM on the main stage anymore. That is it. It's a very niche scenario. I'm not saying it is exactly what I want. It's these things have to happen, and then that is what I think would be a really spicy move.
Nox, you go, and then I have one more thing I want to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'm not quite there yet, Sandy. I'll join you. If we go anything other than 2-1 or 3-0, I will be on the boat with you. Okay. But if we manage to go 2-1 or 3-0, well, damn it, someone supplied me a case of opium, and I am huffing it.
Yeah. Look, I think here's my takeaway on like the VicLa question, right? Or just whatever player is on FlyQuest right now. There's only one thing you have to do. And clearly, you know, the behind-the-scenes rumors are that scrims are good, and other players are surprised that that FlyQuest is doing so poorly. So here's all you have to do when you get on stage, and it's a famous quote. It's right on my little koozie here. It says, and it's backwards, but it says, "Do your job. Just do your job. Win your lane. Don't stop flipping Baron all the time. Stop overextending after the team fight to try to get greedy and chase down that one more kill." So I think to get us over to some of the gameplay, like that's kind of the things that I noticed from this past week was especially the game versus Dignitas was actually fairly close, and it felt like we were in control up until the moment that we got a couple kills. We were extending down to their mid-tier 2. It was like 20-something minutes into the game. And then we start extending into their mid-tower, mid-tier 2. And Jensen comes around on the flank. I believe it was Jensen.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I believe he was on Annie as well, right? And we...
Yep.
Yeah, and we just got absolutely annihilated. And it was an ace. And it was from that point on that the game was over. It was lost from that point on. We could not recover, and it was just bad. Stop making plays like that. Take your wins. Be more cautious. Grow your leads. I mean, heck, like, if you need to, play more scaling comps. Like, just play some nice, easy NA scaling. And, you know, wait till late game, and you have the mechanics to win. Go for that. Like, there's so many options I feel like we could be doing here. And we are just... I'm seeing almost like desperation out of the players to either make the play, get the win, get that kill, that we are just struggling to do the basics. And, you know, we got, I will say, I don't want to say we got outdrafted with the Quinn counter pick, but oh boy, that Quinn really did a number on us. It's just things like that. It's just like all these little things that stack up over time. And then all of a sudden you're faced with, oh, we're 0-6. And the ship's going down. And
now,
yeah.
So I want to focus on another angle that I don't think has been talked about enough. Is the bot lane. And it's a very particular thing. But that Vulcan, right? He just made that tweet about getting a pentakill and scrims on Rakan. I am actually alarmed with how many takedowns go over to Vulcan. Like the last couple weeks when we've gotten first bloods in the bot lane, if I remember, they've all been to Vulcan, or at least too many. Meaning, for whatever reason, the way we're approaching, we're not getting Prince the buff he should be getting if we're making aggressive plays in the bot lane and getting first blood. So I feel like, and I want to get your guys' opinion, but I feel like this micro play, this little balance between Prince and Vulcan, is that inhibiting their ability, like, to scale up? Like, are they tripping at the start? And, like, is that something that we should be worried about?
So, not. I'm going to fact check you a little bit here, Curly. He had
at least 2.
He had 3 kills in Golden Guardians, and that was his only 3 kills in week 1. And then he had 0, 1, and 1. 1 in Evil Geniuses and 1 in Dignitas, and that was it.
Now, mind you, like I said, these are the first blood moments. So, like, later, it's all right. But that 400 gold, you always want to go to your ADC, not your support. Especially when
you're back to broad review at that point.
Yeah, especially, like, I actually literally experienced the Dig matchup today of Kaisa versus Aphelios. That is a bitch of a mashup.
Yeah.
Because Aphelios can just, like, poke you down to half your HP if he, like, lands the root and, like, whatever that one gun where it's like he sent, what's it, the blue gun where he sends a thing out, and if he hits you, it just, like, you know, he can do a lot of damage out of nowhere, and you just have to hope you're in the right range to kind of poke him out, you know? So it's in matchups like that, you want to get your ADC online. So I'm not saying it's like a huge flaw, but it's a little thing that can be abused by the other team.
Well, there you go.
And even that aside, we also, poor Prince. I was checking on his KDA. He's currently 12-21. So I really hope this week goes better for him. That's just a stat line for you.
Let's pull up some more stats, because we all love stats on this
stat-based analysis.
Before we do the stats, though, I wanted to talk about one other thing. I would appreciate it if there would be a little bit of, let's call it, communication from upper management about the struggles that we are seeing. Papa Smithy, you know, had a tweet after last week's 0-3, you know, saying like, you know, sucks, but, you know, we'll get right back on it, guys. Now, another 0-3, and he's noticeably silent. Nick hasn't said anything about it. Coaches have not said anything about it. Players have kind of memed it a little bit. You know, Spica memed like, the 06 never left me, which was funny, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is spring. That's why. Where's? And
So,
I just would appreciate if there would be some level of communication, from management saying like, yeah, this is unacceptable and we need to do better and we will do better. Like, even if you're gonna lie to me, then like, just say something, you know.
So, well, this isn't public per se. I mean, it's a public Discord, so it's technically public, but it's not on like normal FlyQuest social media. Papa Smithy's been very, very conversational on the Oracle's Elixir Discord, and he continues to stand by that the guys are continuing to just kill it in scrims, which, I mean, we've heard from other sources as well, right? And so he's said basically it's very frustrating to see the guys unable to perform on stage, but I have faith that in the coming weeks they'll start to show what they're showing in scrims. A lot of stuff to that gist, basically. So, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, I completely agree with you. I wish it was on more like FlyQuest forward-facing social media, but he has been conversational about these topics in other public places. It just doesn't have as many eyeballs per se.
Right. But I feel like, okay, cool, that's great and all, but you're still, there's a lot more people out there who would see what you're saying, you know, if you're doing it in the more, you know, public form. That's all. Okay, so I found the stats I was looking for. FlyQuest. Significantly bottom of the league in early game rating. 25.9. That is awful. Mid-late rating. Negative 25.9. Now, take a guess without looking, both of you. 9th place, it's TSM for mid-late rating. What do you think their mid-late rating is?
Probably -4. I don't remember how mid-late rating works again. It's been a while since I've looked at OE.
I'm gonna hazard a guess of minus like 50. No, actually, probably more than that. For TSM, I'm gonna say -2.
FlyQuest is the lowest. I will note at negative 26.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, then clearly I was misunderstanding how mid-late works as well.
Yeah, so TSM's mid-late rating is negative 5.8. And as I recall, mid-late rating is basically like, hey, what are your chances of winning, you know, after it takes like your early game rating, and then depending on like whether you win or not, what are your chances of converting that into a win. Now, funnily enough, FlyQuest's mid-late rating is the exact opposite of their early game rating, because FlyQuest has not won a single game. So your mid-late rating will be a little bit more realistic when you win a single game. Here's another interesting stat. Gold difference at 15 minutes. FlyQuest, 9th place in the league at negative 2,087. Only Immortals is worse. These are just, like, mind-boggling stats when you compare them to what they were in the spring. And it's just like, man, what changed? And you can't even make the, like, oh, well, they swapped in Vulcan, so clearly Vulcan's the problem. I don't think that's the answer here, but I don't know. I'm really at a loss for, like, what is going wrong here? You know, why can't this team of 5 clearly very talented players actually have any kind of output on the stage?
So I did find on, what was it, Friday? Yeah, Friday. So in the pregame session, where the analysts are all like highlighting stuff for the week or whatever, Mark Z actually brought out his Radar 360 stats analyst, which is like all the hidden riot data that you're not allowed to see whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so I was very quickly screenshotting as much as I could. I didn't get everything as much as I could.
Right.
So like interesting things that I found. So right now, and these are before the games on Friday. So this is when FlyQuest is 0-5, just for the record.
Mm-hmm.
At the time of the 0-5, VicLa had the second most deaths at 21 behind Tomo. He had the third lowest forward percentage in the league as a mid laner, only ahead of where did it go? I lost it. Forward percentage. Okay. Either way, he was the third lowest forward percentage in the league, and he also had one of the lowest jungle proximities in the league, only ahead of Bolulu and someone else, but it was Bolulu. Basically, VicLa is like not laning well, and Spica's not backing him up either. So those are just some interesting things that I found as well. FlyQuest, first Dragon Times, is actually one of the second fastest at 11 minutes. Gold difference at 14 was like the third worst in the league, only better than Immortals and actually no, second worst in the league. Yeah, so only better than Immortals. I'm just like looking at other various stats as I'm like scrolling through the screenshots that I very hastily took, so I apologize.
Yeah.
But yeah, just there's a bunch of interesting things on here that just it's very surprising to see, like, this is how the team's performing right now. It just does not make sense to me at all.
Yeah. Okay, so let's offer a couple solutions here. I want each of us to offer a potential solution. Mine is going to be simpler drafts. Simplify the draft. Make a straightforward comp that has some engage, tanky front line, and a couple ways of carrying. So it's not just relying on one person to carry. You can carry through your bot laner, and then pick one. Your top jungle or mid, right? Pick one who you want to carry through. You have a couple tanks, and you have some engage. That is a comp. Like, it's a very basic comp, but you can play it, and you can play it well. And you don't have to get all fancy. You don't have to bring out some weird pick, cheese them at level 1. Just pick the comp, play the comp, and execute. And just do your job. That is going to be my motto for this team for the rest of the season. Just do your job. Like, just do it. And I don't want to sound like, I'm speaking from a position of, like, Monday morning quarterback or, like, the couch analyst. But, like, these guys know what to do. They know how to do it. So just do it. Like, they can get it done. I believe in them to be able to get it done. So, Curly, what's your one solution here?
Clear planning and communication. That is what you need to make sure you're approaching every game with, because it feels like there is no game plan with a lot of what I'm watching, or like if there is one, it falls apart, and as we try to recover, we're not on the same page. So make sure that whatever you're doing in scrims this week, make sure you're translating clear planning and communication to the stage, because a team that plays together well will very easily be able to tough out these next 12 games and really solidify their place in the top half of the league. I believe they can do it, as long as they make sure they're having that clear communication and planning.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Knox, what's your how do you feel about it?
So one thing that is particularly bothering me about our drafting style right now is we love saving our last picks for, like, counters that are just like have already been selected by the opposing team way earlier on in the draft, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a drafting genius or anything, obviously. But, like, the type of drafting style that I personally subscribe to is typically, if you are going to have how do I describe this? Sorry, I'm trying to think of how to put the words. So if, like, say your opposing team is blue side and you're red side, right? And they draft 80 carry B1. Theoretically, I would like to have my 80 carry also drafted either R1 or R2, and maybe in some situations R3, depending on if there's higher priority picks in the draft, right?
Right.
And what I'm kind of noticing, especially with mid and top, is that the opposing team, whether it be red side or blue side, is making their champ selection. And then, like, for instance, in FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves, Ari was selected, like, R1, right? and then we ended up selecting Jace as B3. Like, why are we waiting that long to get a Jace pick in? That is something that you could probably put in further on earlier in the draft and try and get a better counter later on to better handle like whatever you want to handle. So it's stuff like that I've kind of noticed throughout a variety of our drafts where it's just like we're saving counter picks way too long down the line when it's like you could do better at like picking still after them and matching it immediately and forcing them to kind of adapt to like, hey, what do we want to play and we can counter you, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I kind of agree with you. Simplify the draft a little bit. Just focus on like, hey, they picked this. All right, we're going to also pick that role right after them. That's what I kind of like to see going forward.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think that's really good.
I have one more recommendation for the team.
Bring it on.
Buy more shivs. We have never once bought a shiv. I just checked every game we play. I think we are the only team that has never once built a static shiv.
So,
Which it's a simple item that does so much. Like behind in farm, get a shiv. You can clear the lane. Oh, you want to hit everyone in the team? Get a shiv. It's
so
like,
I will say it did get nerfed this coming patch, which starts this week.
Yes, but also
buy a shiv.
Here, okay. Well, then here's the converse of that statement. Then why were we not buying shivs in the last 2 weeks? You know, while it was still OP. There you go. Come on. You have LS on your team. He can tell you what items to build. He knows. All right.
Who knows?
Let's look ahead to the week 3 for us. Let's get the
We have
LCS week 3 predictions. Gonna reveal them right now. Boom. There they are. There is hope, folks. There's hope.
That or I'm high off my hopium, one of the two. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're look, in an absolute fluster, I decided to flip for FlyQuest beating NRG right before the show started, so that is what you're getting there. TL on Wednesday at 4-2. NRG and IMT follow them up Thursday, Friday at 2-4. Would be a really great opportunity for us to potentially match number of wins with one of those teams and start clawing our way back up the standings. I'll look in a moment as to who else those two teams play, but let's get started with the Team Liquid matchup. Started out hot, 4-0. They've dropped. They dropped Thursday and Friday. Let's double check as to who they dropped to.
They lost to Evil Geniuses and yeah.
Yeah, EG and Dig. The Dig one definitely a bit more of a surprise, but they beat NRG on Wednesday. They've also beaten TSM, 100 Thieves, and Immortals. So they've not really played. They're actually going to have a tough week. They've got us, Cloud9, and Golden Guardians. So, depending on how it goes for TL, they could be looking at a rough week. Curly, you have the faith in the 3-0, and you differ from Nox and I in this one regard. Nox, I want to hear a little bit of debate between you and Curly as to Nox, why you don't have the faith, and Curly, why you do.
Well,
lead the way, Curly.
This is not really probably I think the debate you're going to expect, right? Because I am predicting a 3-0 because no one in their right mind would predict a 3-0. That would be the most outlandish thing that could happen right now with FlyQuest. No one. I bet you there are people that think we might be able to beat Immortals, but we won't beat TL or NRG. I'm sure a lot of the community is going to be thinking that when we come to the LCS game days, right? And so because it can't happen, it must happen. And I do actually believe that this week we are at the lowest low we could possibly be approaching. We are the only team that hasn't won a game And to me, the players we have, that is unacceptable for them. And I don't think they are weak mentally where they're going to let themselves get down and out and just quietly go. I think that they're going to approach hungrier than any team this week, and they are going to put everything into their performance so that we can start clawing our way back up to where we rightfully deserve to be, so that we can be the team that we claim to be. And I think we just simply are going to want it more than TL. You see it happen frequently where teams that are in the upper echelon underestimate teams that are lower than them in the standings and lose games that they shouldn't lose.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be our opportunity to do that and cause a huge upset and really shake up the league.
I like it. Knox, what's your counter argument here?
My counter argument is that Spica has not looked really all that great this split, and Pyosik is finally looking like an import level worthy player. I'm not saying he's world champion caliber, like he's still not there yet. I don't think he's ever really there, but he's actually looking like an import worthy level player, and he's actually playing really, really well for TL, and he's really doing a lot to make sure this team is performing. Even in the losses to EG and Dig, I mean, the team never looked bad. It was actually surprisingly Dig making good plays as well as EG making good plays.
Right.
And so right now with FLY's shaky confidence, even though I know they're killing scrims, supposedly with Recon pentakills that are happening, but let's be honest here. If Recon pentakills are happening in scrims, that kind of just tells me some weird shenanigans are happening, and then it's not like a legit scrim.
Right, exactly.
So for me, I think Pyosik is really bringing this team together. He's really performing well. Yeah, I'm very glad to see it because it means that this import that TL paid for is finally paying off. But I just don't see currently the team synergy of FlyQuest matching up to what Pyosik has finally got going for this Team Liquid squad. And so, and on top of that, I think Team Liquid is kind of pissed off at this 0-2 that they just had and is not going to accept a loss to an 0-6 FlyQuest. They're going to be like really like sweating bullets to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think Team Liquid definitely, kind of as I will say, as I had predicted, has looked a lot better so far this summer split. Knox, I believe you also had that take as well.
TL fourth, baby!
Oh yeah, back to their fourth place ways. Yeah, they've looked better. I would be very pleasantly surprised if FlyQuest manages to sneak out a win here. But I think right now I have to predict what I know on paper. And I think, look, if FlyQuest was like 3-3, I'd be taking FlyQuest, right? But I just don't. Right now, the way things are going, it's going to be a struggle, and I think we're going to wind up, you know, based off of my other predictions, I think we're going to wind up with a 2-7. 2-7 first round robin with a lot to play for, and turn it around at the end of the season. But I just don't see it right now, unfortunately. NRG and Immortals, though, I'm feeling a lot better about how those could possibly go. NRG has only beaten 100 Thieves and Cloud9, which, to be fair, that Cloud9 win is a significant drop in their bucket. And then Immortals they started out hot. They beat Dig and they beat NRG, but then they have lost to TL, TSM, Golden Guardians, and 100 Thieves along the way. Where I'm at with these two teams is very beatable, very good opportunity for us to finally get some momentum going. And these are must-win games. You have to win these matchups. If you do not, it's like there's nothing left to salvage. Yeah, these are must-win games, and I believe we will. I think we can do it. We just have to play smart. What are some things? Because we all agree that we should beat NRG and Immortals. What are some things you guys will be looking for in those games specifically as we look to get a win or two?
For me, I'm really, really looking at, again, VicLa. VicLa this whole week and for the rest of the split in the year I'm just gonna have my eyes glued on. Like I need this man to step it up. I need him to show why he achieved rank 1 in North America. I need him to show why he was contending for elite status over in the LCK last year. I need him to show why he was rookie last year rookie of the split last year in LCK. I need him to show up. My eyes are glued to VicLa. If he can show up, this team will be good.
Yeah, how about you, Curly?
I think this might be the best opportunity we have to really show off what our bot lane is supposed to be. And so between that and Spica's jungling, because Spica is supposed to be a top tier jungler and he just hasn't been. And
right.
I genuinely believe he can outperform contracts and can be. So I'm looking primarily at the jungle and the bot lane to do what they're supposed to do, because especially if Spica carries his team hard, because the jungler, no matter the meta, always has a heavy impact on the game if he makes the right choices and gets the right lane ahead. So if he's able to execute that well enough, that's what I want to see happen. I want to see the right jungle plays, and I want to see our bot lane show up where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I like it. So that's where we stand. Curly predicting a 3-6 end to the first round robin. Knox and I on that 2-7 train, and then a long, long road as we continue to await the first FlyQuest victory. The funny thing was, here's a little inside baseball. I've been planning on doing a jersey giveaway for the summer jersey, and I've been waiting for us to win to do this giveaway, so I could be like, all right, guys, to celebrate the first win of the summer season, we're doing a giveaway. So we're waiting on that. And until we win, there will be no giveaway. So that is what FlyQuest is keeping from you guys right now. A summer jersey giveaway, unfortunately. So just root for them to get that dub this week if you want the giveaway. All right, let's turn our attention to NACL, which continues to march forward. As I change our topic, there we go. NACL marching on. Knox, rougher week for FlyQuest challengers. They end the first round robin at 10-8, I believe, because they 0-2 to Maryvale, correct?
That would be unfortunately correct.
So an 0-2, only their second 0-2 of the season, fortunately.
Only other one coming from Team Liquid Challengers.
Right. But they are kind of, NACL right now, very much, and unfortunately the standings are not updated on Lawpedia yet, so I'm kind of, this is mostly conjecture right now. But FlyQuest challengers should find themselves in like 4th place, basically, behind TL, Wildcard, and Disguised. Right on their heels are Cincinnati Fear, Maryville University, and depending on how Team Fish Taco does, them as well. Evil Geniuses down towards the bottom, along with Supernova and AoE Gold as well. Halfway through the split, have things kind of gone to your expectations for this Challengers team and NACL overall, or are things vastly different than you were looking forward to?
This is exactly what I expected to happen, by the way. The only surprise in regards to my power rankings is Wildcard is overperforming more than I thought they would, and has nestled themselves into a nice little 2nd place currently. Or 3rd place, however you want to look at it. I'm not sure exactly what the tiebreaker is between them and Disguise, but point being is I predicted Team Liquid 1st, Disguise 2nd, FlyQuest 3rd. That was exactly what I was expecting, and lo and behold, is pretty much what ended up happening. Is because usually Fly starts pretty strong, right? It's the new season. They're rejuvenated. They feel good. And then as you start to head towards the middle of the split, they start dropping games. It's all normal. You can check the history of it. They always drop games in the middle of the split. And so as we begin our second half, I expect us to continue to have a little bit of a slump. And then as we enter week 5 and week 6, I expect this team to start picking up some 2-0s again as we ramp up in the playoffs. This is just classic FlyQuest challenges. This is what the team always does. I'm not sweating a single minute of it. It's pretty much exactly what I expected.
Nice. Yeah, and I feel like the season, I didn't get a chance to watch the weekend's matches yet, but I still feel like battling for, top 4 is a great place for FlyQuest challengers to be right now. I am not at all really concerned at any kind of slump. Yes, going 2-4 this weekend is not the best, and especially when it was against Supernova and Maryville, 2 teams that we should be doing pretty well against, especially Maryville. We should be at least getting 1 game out of there. But Wildcard is a good team, so it should be great, to walk away from them with a 1-1. And to be fair, I don't think Supernova is really all that terrible of a team either. I think that they have a lot to offer at times as well. So I feel good about where this team's at. Again, for me, this continues to be a thing where I am watching for Masu's development. I am watching for Faisal's development, Yuji, Spirax, even Winsome. Where are these guys going on their trajectory? And, what do their future prospects look like? That's what I am mostly concerned with right now.
So, I'll be, straight up, the best player on this FlyQuest squad has not even been Masu this split. Masu's been good, don't get me wrong, but Yuji has been popping off. This man has been an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And, along with APA on Team Liquid Challengers, is currently competing for most valuable quote-unquote prospect. I don't know if that's still a thing for NACL after all the shenanigans that happened. But he's looking like MVP of this league personally for me. He looks so good. I'm so happy with how he's playing so far this split.
Yeah, I think, and it's really exciting to have these good players sitting in the wings ready to go. I think it's exciting, and I am really looking forward to. I know I was joking about it earlier, but I'm legitimately looking forward to the offseason and seeing kind of okay, where do these guys go? Is it time for them to make a move up into the main roster? Is it time for them to go elsewhere within the LCS? What are the possibilities for them? And I think, I think FlyQuest Challengers is really offering a lot of possibilities to Papa Smithy and Nick Fan right now. So, pretty good. What for you, Knox and Curly? I don't know if you have anything you want to chime in on here, but for Knox, for you, going into the second half of the round robin, what are some things that you were looking for improvement on from this squad?
My main thing that I'm looking towards probably lies in Spirax and Faisal. Faisal just continuing to learn the game, continuing to learn how to operate in a competitive environment. He's already very, very good at that, but just continuing the general increase of knowledge in those regards, right? You still see moments of him kind of just going for things solo because he thinks he can outplay him, and occasionally it's paid off. But then there's also been times where it's bitten him in the butt, and it's also costing the team tempo.
Right.
So just little stuff like that. Faisal's actually been making very, very good progress, and something I want to keep an eye on. I've been pretty happy with the Faisal pickup. I think it's been very, very good pickup. Spirax, unfortunately, my dude, you are a North American mid laner in an environment where North American mid laners are have a very hard time succeeding in making it to the LCS.
Yeah.
If you want a chance outside of my request for you to play this weekend, or this week rather, I need him to show that he can step up and be a carry for the game again. A lot of what he's been playing with this week has been almost more of a facilitator and helping Yuji and Masu, like buying them space. And that's fine. That works. It works well for this team. But there's been times where either Yuji's fallen behind or Masu's fallen behind, and it's like, okay, Spirax, you got to step up. You got to be the one to carry this team, and he's kind of failed to do so a couple times, which is why a lot of these games are like, FlyQuest has probably dropped maybe 1 or 2 more games than they should have this split because Spirax didn't step up. And so that's what I need to see him do as the split continues on and they make it into playoffs, is that if one of his secondary or primary carries and Masu and Yuji do not carry the game, that he's willing to step up and be that tertiary carry if he needs to be the tertiary carry. And so if you can show that, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, those are all great things to look for, and definitely going to be an exciting conclusion to the season. Everything like from 2nd to 8th, basically, 9th even, like it's all kind of close. You have one good 6-0 week in this league, and you just swing all the way up. If you have one bad 1-5-0-6 week, you drop hard. It is very competitive in NACL right now, and I think that makes it really exciting.
The parity is awesome. It is the closest to Tier 2, the NA Tier 2 league has been in a long time. It has been a fun league to watch. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Which is really nice after last split where you had some of these amateur teams, at the bottom of the table that, FlyFam, like, I'm sorry, but like FlyFam would show up to a match against like Cloud9 Challengers, and it's like, okay, well, I hope they have fun because they're going to get because they're going to get absolutely dumpstered, or just stuff like that where the skill level gap was just so disparate. So it is what it is, but looking forward to seeing how NACL continues on. Final topic of the night, the Jmook. 5th place at CEO. I cannot. Been talking so much already tonight. You start to lose, like, what are words, Jmook, 5th place at CEO, and he's got some more tournaments coming up real soon. So we had him making it straight into top 8, did not drop to losers while he was in top 32, but then in winter semis, does drop 3-1 to Wizrobe, and then drops 3-1 to Hbox in losers quarters to get knocked out. I did not have a chance to watch this top 8, unfortunately, but he does have some more stuff coming up real soon, including the Ludwig Ogren Championship Series number 5, July 7th through 9th. He will be there. There is an open qualifier for that, and I don't know actually if Kadoran is in this. I assume I feel like this is something that he would also be taking part in. Let me take a look, see here. Yes, he is.
I was gonna say,
so
okay.
Yeah, both Kodo and Jmook will be at the Ludwig Ogren thingamajig. Looks like Kadoran entered the open qualifier for the Ludwig Ogren thing. So, and then they both have Shine 2023 coming up in late August as well. So, fantastic stuff coming up for both of them. Looking forward to seeing how they both improve. 5th place, always good at a tournament. It's a top 8 is never a thing to be sad about. But be sure to go back and watch that top 8 if you had not a chance to watch it, like myself. Any comments from the Peanut Gallery? That would be you two on Jmook and Kadoran coming up on the Ludwig Ogren tournament and then Shine in August.
Ludwig and Shine are 2 pretty dang big tournaments, so that should be pretty hype. I will say, I think this run, I think Jmook got kind of unlucky to run into Wizrobe, who was on a tear and ended up making grand finals, even though he didn't win. And then Hungrybox is just Hungrybox. It's always just a freaking hard matchup, right? The puff is annoying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, he wasn't better than them, and so obviously he finished where he finished, and that is what it is. But at the same time, I think fifth is more than acceptable for this particular tournament. I think he did a good job. I only saw a couple of highlights, but I didn't get to watch the full thing either, like you said.
Yeah. Curly, any thoughts from you?
I mean, you can't win them all. Happens. You know, top 5 still great. You know, anytime... I always believe that Jmook at his very least should be top 8 in something. So
yeah.
If he meets that expectation, I'm satisfied. And anywhere between that and victory, it's good. And yeah, it was just Wizrobe kind of went nuts. It happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Be like that.
It do be like that. All right. Well, that should be basically everything. Hey, I do want to thank a couple friends of ours tonight who were oh so kind as to drop their Twitch subs on the show. Arkham Avalon with the 4-month sub, and Sandwich with the Prime up to 6 months now. Hey, we are halfway through to a year-long sub from Sandwich, which actually sounds like it could be a sandwich. The sandwich from Sandwich. There you go. Thank you both for the subs tonight. Always appreciate it. And any subs follows go to the cause of more jersey giveaways down the road, which will happen as soon as FlyQuest gets that first win. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Flight Check. Super weeks everywhere. It's another super week. The third one in a row. Week 3 starts in just 2 days. TL, then NRG, then Immortals, in that order. Bing, bang, boom, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Lots going on, so be sure to keep up with us on Twitter for all of our instant reactions and thoughts. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. And if you missed any part of this episode, guess what? The VOD, it's going to be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning. If you're watching that and would like to catch the show live, we broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Curly, coming to you first. Any final notes, shout-outs, or plugs before we wrap up?
My final note is I really just, no matter what the case, I hope that the team is still staying friendly with each other. You know, I know a lot of people online are quick to judge when teams are doing poorly and be like, oh, why aren't you playing great? So I just hope that the team is being supportive of each other, because the internet is a harsh place. Yeah. So that's my final note for that. And then I also want to shout out good friend of the show, VT Sonica, for her participation in the Gamers Outreach VTuber marathon these last couple of days. I tuned in a couple times. I even saw NoxWar on her Fall of Frame. If you don't know about Gamers Outreach, go follow them on Twitter and look them up. They do a lot of great stuff when it comes to providing like video games for children's hospitals and other technology, and it's just really, really awesome.
All ran by our good friend Zach Drek.
The one, the only OG Drek.
There you go. Nox, how about you? Shoutouts, plugs, or any other things we need to mention real quick?
Let's see. Shout out Spider-Man. That movie was sick. Go see it. I had a blast watching it.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, I plan on middle school. Me very happy about this, but I'm getting to go see Fall Out Boy for the first time ever on Wednesday. So I'm hyped for
hell
that.
yeah!
So, shout out to Fall Out Boy, and you know what? Shout out to good old Nox Cat, because he's just fat chilling in my lap right now.
He's just hanging out there, fat chilling.
On the topic of Spider-Man, real quick before you go, do you think us going 0-6 right now is just a canon event?
Unfortunately, yes. I think it is unfortunately canon. It is real, and we're having to deal with it.
We can't interfere.
My shout out is just going to be simple. Everyone this week, whether you're a FlyQuest player or not, do your job. Just do your job. It's as easy as is. I cannot talk anymore. The words have left my head. Just do
Sandy needs sleep.
I do need some sleep. But we'll be back next week to discuss how LCS is going for FlyQuest. So for now, stay safe out there. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.